So my name is Emmanuel. I represent a company called Further Markets. We are a business consultancy firm where I work to assist reinsurance brokers that are interested in engaging with insurance companies in Africa. So my day-to-day responsibilities are to build those key relationships and also have a good understanding of the insurance market on the continent to then assist our clients. Just to start this, I didn't really prepare a presentation as such. It was more of just a discussion to, you know, just to share some ideas about my views or my thoughts on the state of the insurance industry, as well as micro insurance, and also looking at how agricultural insurance can also be beneficial to smallholder farmers. So as a start, I would probably would like to touch on the state of the market. As most of you would know, the South African market is quite competitive, probably the most dominant when you actually compare it to other African countries. The level of penetration is at around 17%, which is probably the highest compared to when you look at other countries such as Nigeria, where they probably have the highest population. When you actually look at the penetration rate in that country, or Ethiopia as well, you actually find that the figure is much lower, which obviously shows that there is room in those countries, or opportunities in those countries, for people who are looking for opportunities to get into the insurance industry or into the insurance business. And there has been a trend or a correlation between economic growth in certain countries and the uptake of insurance products, as we have seen in countries such as Ghana, where because the economy itself has actually been on the rise, not necessarily to do with the case of not necessarily a case of demand for insurance products, but it's more to do with the number of employment increasing, as well as a growing middle class as well. So you will find that more and more people have now become more interested in sort of knowing more about insurance products and so on. And then there is the other aspect that I would also want to discuss, which is how does the insurance industry transform itself moving forward, right? Because I totally believe that the insurance market in Africa has a huge potential. One, we look at the actual population of Africa compared to other regions or other markets in the world. We actually then look at the penetration level in Africa, which is relatively low compared to, let's say, the global markets. On the global markets, the average would be around 7.6%. But in Africa's case, it seems as if there is more work that needs to be done to actually make people aware, first of all, about the different products that are available on the market, and actually being able to explain the importance of insurance. Because one thing I do find is that most insurance companies will actually release a lot of products, but in terms of the actual marketing of those products or providing the necessary knowledge to consumers, this is where it becomes a little bit problematic, because it's not being done properly, because there is a heavy reliance on brokers and agents to actually educate the masses, but also the insurance companies should actually take it upon themselves to actually enter the market and actually understand what it is that consumers are trying to obviously what the main concerns of the consumers, and then from there actually being able to actually know how do we actually cater for this particular group of people or for this particular market. So then we've seen that there has been a lot of regulation as well in the market, which is something that the governments have been working on quite a lot, to make sure that obviously, insurance companies are able to conduct business freely, in terms of, without any borders, because this was something that was an issue before, where it seems a lot more difficult to have an insurance company based in, let's say, Nigeria, conducting business in Ghana. So now, we're actually starting to see that there is market liberalization in the market. We're now starting to see that some of the barriers are now being relaxed as well, which is obviously going to be something positive for the market. And you know, now moving on to the technology aspect of things, right? Because what we have seen, I'm involved in insurance in the UK myself, and in Africa too. And one thing I've seen, or something that I've noticed, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's in Africa or in the UK. It seems that the insurance market, as a whole, globally, that is, they are quite behind on technology, or there is a sort of this ideology of not wanting to adapt to new technologies or new things. So one thing that you will find is that the way things were done 30 years ago is pretty much how certain insurance companies are doing things now. So there is actually a need to make sure that the insurance industry is up to date in terms of its technology. This is the only way, for any insurance company actually to actually increase its client base. Simple things such as having a price comparison website for a policy, or simple things such as having an application where you're able to actually manage your own policies on your mobile phone or online, without the need of calling your broker, or without the need of calling your insurance company to find out whatever it is that you need to find out about your whether it's your premiums or whether it's your policy in itself. So I think there has to be, insurance companies now need to work on improving their presence online, in terms of not heavily relying on consumers to call in, or customers to call in, but rather actually just going online to get whatever information that they need. And whenever there is new products that are being launched and being marketed, again, using that same platform to actually interact with your consumers, because again, we're now moving into an age of technology, or we have already moved into an age of technology, and we're actually also finding out that the African population is getting younger and younger by the day. So the only way where the insurance market will be able to actually target those individuals, or those groups of people, would be to actually work on actually having a presence online, to actually enable them to actually attract the younger people that may be getting married now, or that may be settling down and buying properties and stuff like that, because those are the people that will probably need insurance moving forward. So I believe that the market still has a long way to go, in terms of the actual distribution, because what you find is that the distribution of insurance products in Africa is very, very uneven. What you might actually find is that, unlike Europe, what you find is that the penetration rates in Malawi might not be the same as the penetration rates in Sierra Leone, right? And there will actually be a massive difference. It's not necessarily a case of maybe a few percentages behind. It's usually a massive percentage, which means that certain countries or certain communities have actually adopted the idea, or they have a good understanding of insurance, and then other communities are yet to be educated about insurance, and they're yet to understand the importance of insurance. This is why I believe that in order for insurance companies to actually continue being competitive on the market, there is an actual need to actually integrate technology into their day-to-day operations to actually reach out to a much larger market, as well as being able to actually provide the necessary information that people will need to make a decision about their insurance policy. Because at the end of the day, insurance is all about trust. Without trust, it's quite difficult to really reach out to a market that could be seen as profitable. Then we move on to just the change again, in the marketing approach. As I mentioned, the African population is. I think it would be ideal to now move into the microinsurance, which is something that has been gaining momentum in the last few years now. It is a very interesting concept, obviously, to cater for the uninsured population. And when we say uninsured, we're referring to people that couldn't possibly afford to pay the high premiums. That people in urban areas might be able to afford. Because these are people that are possibly living on a small amount a day. So microinsurance is quite good in the sense of catering for those communities that are seen as less privileged. Now, what's interesting about microinsurance is that so far what we've seen is there's been a lot of focus on the funeral plans, but I also believe that insurance companies insurance companies would actually need to create more products that are designed for those people in the rural communities. And again, with microinsurance, because again it's still something quite new, it's a new concept. Same way with educating people about insurance products. People in those rural communities will need to be educated about or be provided with information about microinsurance and its purpose. You might actually find, considering that Africa has over 700 million low-income households, you might actually find that this is a huge market with huge potential. And it's now about actually having a strong marketing plan to actually reach out to those smaller communities to actually help them to understand the importance of insurance. But again, because there was always this perception that insurance was always going to be expensive, but this time around that's obviously not the case, where the premiums are much lower, which obviously mean that there is at least some structure in place that would actually help those people in the rural areas to be able to actually afford the premiums. And as I understand, obviously this is an agricultural focused conference, so I will touch briefly as well on agricultural insurance. Now, again, agricultural insurance, when we look at the penetration, it hasn't been so great because the commercial farmers are much aware of these products, so they usually include insurance as part of their risk management strategy during the farming season. But with the smallholder farmers, again, this is information that is relatively new to them. It's quite difficult to really have a full picture of how this could be beneficial to them. So again, the key thing that I will address today is the education aspects of microinsurance and insurance actually, where farmers actually need to be provided with the necessary information. So there is a need for microinsurance companies to actually build partnerships either with mobile operators, either with microfinance institutions, NGOs, all those people that are, or organizations that are involved in the day-to-day lives of people in the rural communities, and this is the only way they will be able to actually build trust with the local, with the rural community. Number one, and I think number two would be to actually um, work on building what I would say, work on building a structure that allows not only just the micro insurance itself, but also other companies to do the selling on behalf of the micro insurance. So what we've seen in countries such as Kenya, where micro insurance firms have been building partnerships with telecoms companies, where the companies will actually integrate their product into the so they would actually integrate the micro insurance companies' products into their own products, and then they will sell it on behalf of the company. So you know that seems to be working quite well. We've seen the same thing actually in South Africa, where it seems to be working quite well. But I think there's a need for more partnerships in order for this to actually become more sustainable, because of how low the premiums are. It could be quite difficult for an insurance company to actually become profitable. So that would actually mean that they need to have a large market share in order for them to actually realize any profit. So this is why there is a need for the partnerships, also a need to provide the education, and a need to actually digitize the insurance industry. Thank you to everyone for listening, and yes, if anyone has any questions, I've put my email address in the comment box, so please do feel free to get hold of me, and I'll be happy to assist with any questions you may have.